Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for my polyphonic.org video blog. Today I'm recording from the Champaign Public Library for two reasons. One, I just felt like I needed a change of scenery, and two, I needed some coffee. My apartment was all out. The public library system here in Champaign-Urbana is fantastic, and one of the great things about the Library Science School at U of I is that students can sign up for practicums at the public libraries here. It's a really good way to get hands-on experience while still in school. The Champaign Public Library is a newer facility with gorgeous design, very comfortable spaces, and of course a really great selection of materials, though I'm personally biased towards the university library selection. Then again, the university library is in a whole other league of its own. Okay, enough nerdiness. This past week, our oboe professor here at U of I, John D, gave a recital, and I had the great joy of playing on the program. I'd grown up listening to Professor D perform with the Florida Philharmonic before its collapse, and if you had told me 15 years ago that I'd one day be personally invited by him to perform on his recital, I would not have believed you. Even back then, he was a terrific educator. He had his gorgeous signature oboe sound, and I recognized it the moment I heard him play at our first gig together in Champaign with the Champaign-Urbana Symphony. These days, I'm lucky, if not still a little shocked, to be calling him a friend and a colleague. This upcoming week, I'll be performing the Verdi Requiem with Sinfonia da Camera, which Professor D also plays in, along with a few other former and current members of orchestras and ensembles that I'd grown up listening to. So kind of tying it in a little with last week's topic, this realization is one of those things that make me know that I've made it somewhere, wherever that is, even if I'm not completely where I wish to be yet, wherever that is. It's an accomplishment that I have to acknowledge. Maybe it's like a mile marker, and I'm getting closer and closer to that eventual someplace. How did I get here? I wonder. While I was in school, I wasn't really thinking, I want to be concertmaster to Robert Smano, or one day I'd like to play duets with Yo-Yo Ma, as fun as amazing as those both sound. I'm sure those exact thoughts are motivating sentences for some people out there, but for me, my motivation was fostered more by the desire for something I felt like I could call my own. It's a little vague, but what exactly any of those things mean is different for everyone, as is how we motivate ourselves. Maybe it changes depending on the time and the situation. For example, if there's a specific audition coming up, I can probably think, yes, I want that job with the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, for example, and then prepare accordingly if I was invited. However, at the same time, why shouldn't I always be working towards the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra, for example, if that's where I'd ultimately like to end up? Isn't that motivation too? For me, personally, I think I can't be too specific with my goals, or else I get way too wrapped up in it. That's how the phrase something to call my own became a bit of a mantra and a motivation. It took a little bit of time, honestly, to find a set of words which fit the bill of what I wanted and wanted to accomplish. But once I uncovered them, every time I was discouraged by a rejection from either my professional or personal life, I could revisit these words and it recalibrated me. Even now, in a full-time position, I can still get held up by little things, but it helps if I can take a moment to remember where I'd started, how far I've come, and how far I have still to go. And really, not kidding, it can get me back on my feet. Or it could mean that I'm long overdue for a coffee break. Unfortunately, I only came upon my motivation a few years ago while I was working on my library science degree. I really wish I could have found them while I was working on my performance degrees. Back then, my motivation was to just get through immediate tasks as best as possible, more or less. It was a bit more aimless back then, and looking back, it's kind of an unfortunate thing. Anyhow, this is how I unstick myself from a rut. What are some ways that you motivate yourself, especially when you're stuck? The comments are open. Please let us know. And thank you for tuning in. See you in a few weeks.